I guess the quality of people that I found myself with, you know, I started getting exposed to a level of knowledge and information that began to shape my mind as to the fact that there are certain levels of possibility that existed that I wasn't aware of at the time.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening once again, depending on where you're watching us from. And welcome once again to the Adventures podcast. As you know, on Adventures, we bring you the story of courage and vision behind the brands and the organizations that you see every day. And our hope is that as you listen to their stories, you'll be able to get some inspiration and ideas that will help you even travel and achieve success faster than some of the stories or some of the brands and organizations around you. So welcome once again. It's my big pleasure to have you here today. All right. Joining us today is a friend and a brother, and we kind of go way back. His name is Mr. Bolutife David, right? Bolutife David founder, is the founder and the CEO of High Performance Consulting. He will tell us a little bit more about the outfit, but essentially they are into helping individuals and organizations develop at the highest level of productivity and performance possible. Essentially, they help organizations outperform. And today, he will be sharing with us the stories behind how he conceived, how he built, and how he's been able to, kind of sustain this business in the last couple of years. So joining me today is Mr. Bolutife David. Mr. Bolutife, it's a pleasure to have you on the show today. Welcome on board.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. The pleasure is all mine, and I'm looking forward to the amazing conversations that we're going to be having as well.
Brilliant. Once again, thank you. Like I said, I'll keep thanking you because we're excited about having you around. Now, we normally like to start by, requesting that you share a little bit, and as I used to say jokingly, that you share a little bit about the organization that you run, what you do, possibly the scope of your operation, the scope of your operations and all of that. I say you take it as your unpaid advert, right? So please, can you please start by telling our viewers a little bit about the organizations that you lead, what you do, how you help organizations and individuals, and possibly a little bit about the scale of your operations.
All right.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, Kale, for the opportunity to be here. I really love to be here, and I think it's an amazing thing that you're also doing, trying to create inspiration for a lot of people. Because the truth of the matter is that without inspiration, we can be so lost. I don't think I can also tell my own story, without talking about, the dose of inspirations I've gotten at different times, along the journey, because the only way we dare to dream is because we can see other people's dreams come alive. So I think, this podcast goes a long way in creating the springboard for a lot of people to also, pathfind, into other people's stories. So yeah, I think it's a very good thing that we're doing here. And that is why I am super excited to be here. Okay, so to give like a background or a little introduction to what high performance consulting does, so high performance consulting, started out as a training outfit. But again, that wasn't what I wanted to create out of high performance consulting. My vision, my goal is to be able to create, an indigenous consulting firm that will ultimately compete with the big four, right? Especially within the African turf, right? So that is what was in my mind. That has been what is in my mind. That is what is still on my mind. And that's what we're trying to create. But whilst we are dreaming and aspiring to create the one of the biggest consulting firms in Africa, how far have we come relative to our operations? Maybe I can first speak into our services. So, on the one part, we do business consultancy, uh, end to end. So it is not just training, it's not just HR. We handle the financial bit. Handle if you're trying to do digital transformation within your company, if you're trying to conduct surveys, to be able to test your customers to see how you can, improve the quality of your offering, all of those things comes into our consultancy services. If you're trying to come up with either your 5-year strategy, create your strategic objectives, knock it into departmentals, create your performance scorecard, all of those things comes within what we do in consulting. Then the other part of it is that we also offer, HR support services to organizations. So there are some organizations that by themselves, they don't have what it takes to, to offtake their own HR function. So get to outsource the HR function to us. So from recruitment to performance management design to design of key result areas, to managing productivity, everything that comes into HR to payroll management to, pensions management, all of those kind of things comes into, what we do in our HR support. Then we also offer executive coaching. And the reason is because we recognize that, one of the things that would really help people to really scale is the ability of somebody that is not boggled down in the everyday running of that business to be able to help them visualize into what they can really produce and begin to handhold, the senior managers of the organization, to be able to bet something that is beyond what they can even imagine. So we do executive coaching, right? And then on the other side, we also do trainings. So when it comes trainings, we focus on both soft skills and technical skills. So on the side of the soft skills, we're looking at what are those things that if everybody should gain mastery around, it will help them to become the best version of themselves and then produce it ultimately. The reason why we focus a lot on training is because for us, we've come to realize that you cannot become better at what you do if you don't become better at who you are. So, in terms of our training, we are helping people to become better at who they are so that they can use better results in the organization that they work in. So, on one side, we focus on soft skills. On the other side, we focus on technical skills, depending on the need of our clients, but for us, before we even launch any training intervention, we're always asking the question, is there a gap analysis? Have you done any that will let us exactly, what skill is in there? Because, you can be teaching the same thing to different set of people and the way you deploy it will be totally different. So that is what we do essentially. So these are the four major, service areas that we have. And for us to be able to meet the needs of our clients, we have a plethora of people we work with, either as a full-time in-house consultant, as associate consultant, as ad hoc staff, just to be able to ensure that every project that is given to us to manage by our clients, we're able to deliver on it excellently. So that is a summary of what our service looks like in terms of reach. Within the few years.
Hang on a sec. Before you go into Rich, right? I
Okay.
just changed my mind. This is not going to be unpaid adverts, right? This is going to be very paid, right? I'm going to send I'm going to send you invoice afterwards, right? Sorry, that's just on a lighter note. So please go ahead and tell us about the Rich. Thank you.
Yes. Talking about the reach of the firm, right? Like I was saying, it would interest you to know that, or maybe on one side, this is the second shot. So high performance consulting is my second shot at consulting, right? I started with a company I called Proquitas Research. But I had to shut that down. Maybe why I shut down will come up in the course of the conversation,
That
right?
sounds complicated. The name itself sounds complicated.
Yeah. So I guess I'm going to talk about that in the course of the conversation because I had to do that for some strategic reasons, right? Um, yeah, so I'll get to that as the goes on. But high performance consulting, as we have it today, was officially started in 2019, and between now then and now, we've had the privilege of consulting for about 37 organizations, right? We've trained almost 10,000 working professionals, right? And I have had the opportunity of working, with, C-suite executives, one-on-one coaching. I've worked with about 28, C-suite executives. And out of those 28, about 10 of them were the CEOs of those organizations. And these are not organizations that are doing, um, tens of millions. There are organizations that are doing hundreds of millions and even billions. So we've had our fair share of growth within that time, and now, I know we can say that we're grateful for how far we've come within, well, what I like to call a very short period of time.
Wow. 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 I mean, just hearing your stories alone about the scope and the reach and, the impact, it's quite inspiring, right? And, I don't want to let so much out, but I can say that, that I think I kind of have an idea of the humble beginnings when you started out and like that. But, so to hear that, in how many years?
That's 2019 till date. That's about 6 years or thereabout. 5, 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. In 6 years, I mean, more than 30 organizations, more than 10,000 people trained and consulting for, you know, C-suite kind of executives, right? For me, it's big. It's big. So, happy that, things have really worked out well so far. But if you can go back a little bit memory lane and tell us, how did it all start? Right? What were the things that led to you deciding that, okay, it's not 9 to 5 I want to do, or I want to consult? How did you kind of get to that point?
Okay, okay. Thank you so much for that question. The truth of the matter is that I never knew that anything like management consulting existed for a very long time in my. Um, I didn't have the privilege of growing up in a privileged environment, right? In Kwara State, and I didn't grow up in a Lorry in Kwara State. I grew up in one of those remote, villages, so to speak, or towns in Kwara State. Right. But fortunately or fortunately, I guess Providence, led me to Olabisi Obajo University, where I began to actually discover myself. Before that time, I used to be a perfect introverted person suffering from a very high level of low self-esteem. Right.
Mm.
Um, if you
High
invite me
level of
for
low self-esteem.
if
That's
you
quite
had
a
invited
thing.
me for a conversation like this, I will bail out on you for sure. Right.
Yeah.
But when I go to, to the university, I don't know exactly what happened, but I guess the quality of people that I found myself with, you know, I started getting exposed to a level of knowledge and information that began to shape my mind as to the fact that there are certain levels of possibility that existed that I wasn't aware of at the time, And one of the earliest information that I was exposed to was the concept of purpose. If it's okay to mention, and, one of the people that I heard that from at the earliest stage was the very person that is interviewing me right now.
Well, thanks for the clap back.
I remember when I was in 100 level, I attended, one of the services where you were preaching, right? And there is a message you preach that I can never forget. You spoke about the fact that there are three types of Christian. There is the 12 o'clock Christian, there is the 6:30 Christian, and there is the 6 o'clock Christian. I don't know if you remember, right? And and the idea is, the goal is to be a 6 o'clock Christian that is heavily conscious and utterly useful. The bigger hand is pointing upwards and the smaller hand is to the heart. And in the midst of all of that, I began to think, okay, what does that really mean? Right. And then that led me to the journey of, living a purposeful life. And fortunately, we had a lot of seminars, a lot of conferences, in Olabesa University at the time. We had the likes of Fela Drotoye, Nia Desoya, Kunle of them just coming around, doing different trainings, seminars, and conferences, and it began to occur to me that, okay, maybe there's really more to this life, right? I remember, when I was in 200 level, I bought my very first book myself, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That book changed my life. I read it. I must have read that book like 8 times, right? Back and back to back and back to back and back, and I began to live the habit. Now, it wasn't because I knew exactly what I was trying to do, but I just knew that, trying to create a different reality for myself, different from where I was coming from, and the more resolute I became about it, the more I took the step one after the other. Then I think I was in part 3 at the time, when, an older friend of mine who happened to be, a pastor as well, was going to organize. This older friend of mine, I think was in his final year, was in part 3. He was going to organize, a seminar, and, he had done the seminar actually, right? I didn't attend the seminar. And then I think on this particular day, I went to the business center to do some photocopies. Then I met him at the photocopy center. I was trying to do some form of certificates for the people that had attended the seminar, right? And guess what? What he wanted to do was a big deal, was a challenge for all of the people that were working at the business center at the time. And I walked up to him. I'd seen him around. I've attended programs where he was speaking as well, right? So I walked up to him. I was like, by the way, this person I'm talking about is Pastor Damola, right?
Okay. I figured.
So I was in the business center, and what he wanted to do, the people there couldn't do it. Now, before I came to Olufemi University, I worked on my mom's business center. That was how I learned how to use a computer, right? So all that they were trying to do, and I'm like, what are you doing that is a big deal? So I walked up to him and I said to him that, do you mind if I help you solve this problem? I was like, you can solve it. I said, yes. I said, just leave all of these things with me. Go. When I'm done solving the problem, I'm going to call you. I think maybe 1 hours later, I called him that I'd sorted it, all the things that he needed, I'd produced it, and it was ready. Now, and when he came to me, he was like, Bolu, you are such an extra miler. I can never forget that statement. Right. At that time, I've never heard of that word before. So I was like, okay, what does it mean to be an extra? Because the time, I just did something very simple and easy, right? And, a couple of months later, he was going to organize this big seminar in Agowe. And he was like, would you mind working with me on this project? And we worked together, and that was it. This was the days where he was trying to start ISMN, that's the Strategic Management Program in Olabisi University, right? And, we did the conference, and it was super successful. And then after that, he said he was going to register a management consulting firm. I was like, what does he mean? And he explained it the best way he knew how to. I was like, I said, why not? Remember that that time I was just experimenting with a lot of things. I learned at that time that one of the ways to really know what your life can be about was for you to give yourself to a lot of things, right? And then giving yourself to a lot of things, you begin to see it's in you, right? At that time, I was studying laboratory. I was studying law, by the way. So I started working with him. We started organizing, the certification program for Institute of Strategic Management Nigeria. And, it was
So
just moving.
by the way, Bolu, story 1 minute. Have you ever practiced law?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, for a short period, right?
Yes, I did for
Oh,
about 3 years.
okay, cool,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. So along the line, it will probably come up in the story as
Yeah, yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, go on, go on,
because
go on. Enjoying the
because
story.
because everything is just connected. So, so when we started that is of strategic management, program in Ogun State, it was a big deal. It was just successful, 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 successful. It was, yeah, and I was like, if this is what they call management consulting, it's sweet though, you know. So that was the earliest, you know, um, experience I had with management consultancy, and with the benefit of hindsight, I began to understand that the truth of the matter is that you cannot desire what you have not tasted, right? So for me, that season was a season of tasting it so that it well up a desire in me that would birth what I have today. So, for example, if I didn't go to the business center that day, I would not have met him. If I did not meet him, I wouldn't have done that work for him. He wouldn't have thought of me as a miler. He would not have asked me to come and collaborate with him on his projects. And probably I'm not going to be doing this today. So there is no way I can talk about the story of my, consultancy journey without from that point. So that's the earliest, exposure I had to the concept of, I'm running a management consultancy business, and that's what has
Mm.
brought up the point. Yeah.
I mean, thanks a lot for sharing all that you've shared. Well, that's is inspiring hearing those stories, right? But three things jumped out as you were sharing the story that I want to double click with you. Uh, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, because yes, you could have gone to the business center, but might have chosen not to offer that
Yeah.
service, right? It wasn't that you're going to get paid for it anyway. You were just willing to help, right? So for me, it looks like on one hand, you are intentional about people. It looks like you're intentional about service. It looks like you're intentional about knowledge, right? Will that be accurate?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. The truth of the matter is that, again, with the benefit of hindsight,
Yeah.
right? One of the ways to come into your own is through service, right?
Mm.
If you are faithful in small, you'll be giving the big, something like that.
Mm.
So
Mm.
right in my life today, there are a lot of people I'm still serving, right? Because I know that
Wow.
the more I serve, the more opportunities I'm exposed to, along my own life's journey. And, like I said, you know, I am not the kind of person that learns something and don't try to practice it. In fact, I say something like this, that I don't like learning too much
Mm.
because I like to be in that space where I'm thinking that I am learning more than I'm using, right?
Wow.
To
Wow.
be able to
Wow.
let little, then maximize the living day out of that thing, then
Little.
I go
Mm.
learn something else. Which is why I said that the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Highly Effective People was a
Yeah.
book I read 8 times over
Wow.
an extended period of time. I did
Mm.
not read anything else. I just wanted to be sure that everything I'm learning from this book, I am
Bringing it to
converting to
life.
my daily
Wow.
reality, you know.
Wow.
So that was what spurred me, you know, being able to have that conversation with him in that business center. Because
Mm.
certain things, if you ask me today that what were the first lessons I learned from that book, I'm going to tell you because those things, in fact, like I always say to people, right? All the junctions where I learned the things that transform my life, I can tell you about
Mm,
them.
mm,
That's why
mm.
I could remember listening to a message you preached
Yeah.
in 2002 or 2001 because it was a defining moment for me.
By the way, I've not sent you the invoice for that consulting that I offered to you.
At that
So
point, we were doing the work of God.
still doing the work of God.
And so you praising people for a very long time. So, and that's why we are doing adventures now as well. So,
I mean, interesting stories to hear, Bolu. I hope that we'll have enough time to go through all of these because, if I want to unpack all of these, that there is a lot there, right? I think at times the mistakes that we make as a human is to think that yesterday is gone, right? And then tomorrow is, but the truth of the matter is today is a build up of, or today is a build up of what is going to happen tomorrow. And, we need to kind of take every day as an opportunity to build into something bigger.
I wasn't looking for money. I wasn't really looking for the experience. I was looking for exposure. I worked with this guy between 2016 and 2018. The kind of projects I collaborated on, they were phenomenal projects. I was part of, graduate training program, for First Bank. I was part of a lot of projects. Now, people see me jumping on plane, traveling from one place to another. They say, Bolu, you're a big boy now. Little did they know there was 70K that was there.
I guess the question I'm trying to get to is I know that you didn't navigate out of your experience with Institute of Strategic Management and then you started high performance consulting, right? I'm sure there are some because that has a lot of lacuna already, as you guys will say in law. So what happened between, what happened between, I mean, if we fast forward a little bit, I know you graduated or did all of the things that needed to happen, but, how did these all, evolve and, become high performance consulting that we see today that is now doing all sort of gigs with, the big players within industries?
Okay, let me look for how to present the shortest version of it. Right.
Yeah, that'll be
Because
helpful.
uh so I was doing I was doing that ISMN work, right, at the time with the mentor of mine that I spoke about, the person that I helped who then later became a mentor to me, right? And then I think that work soaked me in so much that I failed in my final year, right? I failed one of the compulsory courses in my 500 level, right? And I had an extra year. Yeah. But remember I mentioned consulting was already sweet. So I didn't even send that I had an extra year. And I wasn't even I wasn't even going back, you know, to it until one day somebody said, "Oh, Bolu, you're a lawyer." I said, "Yes, I'm a lawyer." And the person wanted me to execute a contract for them. I'm just for executing a contract, I would have earned at the time. I'm speaking about 2009, they're about now, 2010. I would earn maybe 300K just executing a contract. Yeah. Couldn't execute it because I didn't finish. So it was at that point that wisdom came to me that Bolu, go and finish what you left. Right. So I went back to school, finished up, then I went to law school. So it was when I was in the law school that I, said to myself, at this point, you need to decide what you really want to do with your life. So I sat down to say, do you want to practice law or do you want to go into this management consulting thing? I said it earlier that what you have not tasted, you cannot desire. Now, because I have tasted consulting, it was sweet in the mouth. And it was calling my name, calling my name. Then, even though it was calling my name, I had to do a quick test. Now, this test I learned from the Stephen Covey book I was talking about that I read, which is, Journey into the Future. So I journeyed into my future and I'm like, okay, what is the best that I can become as a lawyer? Right. And the best picture that came to my mind, were the top sons in Nigeria at the time. And I thought myself being at that level. And to be honest, it did not give me any goose pimples. It did not give me any sense of great fulfillment. I said, okay, if I leave the bar and I move to the bench, that means I say stop practicing law to become a judge.
It must a judge of your justice order. Okay.
Right. And then I paced myself into the future again. Right. What's the best I can become as a judge? Attorney General of the Federation. Right. And I pictured myself being that,
Or
it
a
didn't give
Supreme
me
Court
any.
justice or something, yeah.
Yeah. Right. In that Stephen Covey book, it would say, think about your own epitaph. Imagine that you are dead and you are standing on your tombstone. And it says, here lies the remains of XYZ, and they describe you a certain way. Which of the descriptions give you, the highest burst of excitement and joy?
Yeah.
Being a lawyer wasn't going to give me that. Being a judge or a justice wasn't going to give me that. So I said, okay, let me future pace myself with this consulting thing that I've also experienced. And in that moment, I thought about myself, being able to speak to a lot of people, being able to transform organizations, and people saying, oh, I hold my life to Bolu. Oh, I hold the success of this organization to Bolu. And in that moment, the kind of joy and happiness that I felt was compared to none. And on that day, I made up my mind that even though I am in law school trying to get called to the Nigerian bar, ultimately what I'm going to use my life for is management competency. So the moment I came out from law school, right? Remember, I'd wasted time already. So I came out from law school 2013. I did my service year between 2013. I did my service year 2014 into 2015. The moment I dropped my NYC passing out, I passed out from NYC and I got my certificate. Exactly. I registered Proquitas Resource immediately. So now the question, and people have asked me before, why did you register immediately? The reason was simple for me. I know that there is no time you want to start something new that is not going to be tasky. So the question is, do you want to start it at the point where you have the least responsibility, or you want to start it where you are going to have higher responsibility? At the time, it was just me. So, imagine if I'm starting when I'm already married with a son or with a child or with children, it becomes more difficult, And as I always say to people that no matter how cumbersome or chaotic your life is today, this is the least your life will be chaotic and cumbersome. So you cannot be waiting till it gets easier. It doesn't get easier because your responsibilities will keep building up, right? And then more things will be demanded on your time, and then you can't start. That was why Pop started out immediately in 2015. I started Procruiters Resources. That was the first consulting firm that I registered. But the challenge at the time was that I was able to consult for people, but not at the level that I saw myself doing it. Right. And all the attempts I made, they were not giving me the kind of results that I wanted. So wisdom came to me that if I don't have certain level of experiences, there are certain of jobs that they will never give to me. Now, experience in sense may not even mean skills and competencies, but having a platform to demonstrate what you can do at a bigger level. So I spoke to another mentor of mine at the time, right, who was also starting his own consulting outfit, who had worked in the bank, worked with another consulting firm, and was starting his own consulting. So, but he gave me a condition that
Who is this,
if
please?
I do to, what is it?
Who is this? Who is this person?
This is Bankole Williams now.
Ah, okay. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. I'm sure you remember some of the things I shared with you about
Yeah,
him.
yeah, yeah,
Right.
definitely. Yes.
So, yeah. So this mentor of mine was like, if I'm going to come join him, there is a condition to it. The
Mm.
condition was that I was going to shut down everything I was doing.
Yeah,
And,
which is only fair, right? Because of conflict of
and
interest and all that.
exact and focus on what we're doing. Now, notice
Mm.
that time I was already launching my coaching business. I was already having some
Mm.
traction in that regard as well. Right.
Mm, I
Now,
see.
at that time in 2016, my business was already generating maybe like between 3 to 400K for me on a monthly basis.
Mm.
Right.
Oh, really? Which wasn't bad, really, for that time.
Which wasn't bad within the first 1 year, right?
Yeah.
But I knew that what I wanted is not 300K, 500K.
Yes.
Do you get?
Yeah.
Right. Uh-huh. So I
By the
had
way,
to.
for our viewers, all the 300K, 400K are all in Nigerian currencies, the naira. So not USD, not GBP, please. Just for perspectives.
Not CAD, you know, uh, it's NGN.
Yeah, then GN.
Right. So I felt like I needed to. Now I also like to call out numbers so as to be able
Okay.
to put perspective in people's.
Perspective. Mm.
Now, what does this mean? Shutting down my business means that I was going to cancel that, and my brand I was already growing small, right? And what this mentor of mine was going to offer me as my monthly
Wow.
salary was 70,000 naira.
Mm. Mm.
Now, at this time, I was already married and my son had arrived.
Wow.
That
Wow.
means I was shutting down someone that was giving me 3, 400, 500K every month to someone that was giving me 70K every month.
Wow.
But I knew that it was a needed sacrifice
Mm.
because I knew that going there, I was going to have the kind of exposure that I needed. Now, at that
Wow.
time, also learned that every job that you are engaging yourself in can give you three types of reward.
Mm.
The first one is the money, right? So
Yeah.
in a season of your life, maybe money is what you are looking for. That
Yeah.
becomes a
Yeah.
yardstick for your decision.
Yeah.
In another sense, what you're looking for is a job that is going to train and develop you, right?
Absolutely.
So you're looking
Mm.
for someone that will throw you on the deep end of the sea, right?
Yeah.
Then, so in that sense, you are looking for experience. You want to build a lot of experience. But again, in another season of your life, what you are looking for is exposure, right?
Mm.
Build the experience already, but you don't have the right platform to use it. So for
Mm.
me, and I wasn't looking for money. I wasn't really looking for the experience. I was looking for exposure. Guess what
Mm.
happened? I worked with this guy between 2016 and 2018. The kind of projects I collaborated on, they were phenomenal projects, right? I was
Wow.
part of the consulting team that did a nationwide training for Union Bank, right?
Wow.
That made them, at that time, Union Bank was rated by the KPMG rating when it comes to customer service as maybe number 21 amongst the commercial Nigeria. By
Mm.
the digital intervention, they moved to maybe number 7, right?
Wow.
So
Wow.
I
That's
was part
massive.
of yeah, I was part of, graduate training program, for First Bank. I was part of a lot of projects. Now, people see me jumping on plane, traveling from one place to another. They say, Bolu, you're a big boy now. Little did they know there was 70K that was there.
Yeah. But I mean, that is, yes, I see that point. If you're looking at earning strictly from the financial standpoint, right? But if you're looking at all of the exposures and all of that, you know that
It
payday
was
will
way
come.
what.
Payday
So,
will come.
yeah, yeah. So when I stopped that work in 2018, I knew that I was ready.
Mm, mm,
because I have the experience, I have the
mm,
exposure, I have built a pedigree that I can now
mm,
use to approach the kind of businesses I really wanted to consult for.
mm,
So when I started high performance consulting in 2019, I wasn't starting green and fresh. I
mm,
had built the necessary muscle. And
mm,
that is, I believe that it was because of that 2 years sacrifice that has produced the results of high performance
mm.
consulting in the last 5 to 6 years, based on what I described earlier. So without that season, I'm sure that we're not going to be here.
Wow. Wow. It- Is I'm at a loss for words, right? And that is not always the case. But just merely hearing all that you have shared in terms of having it looks like having to go down right before going up, all right, or having to go back before going forward, right?
Absolutely.
And and I'm sure that's not something that a lot of people in our generation wants to do, especially you have something that is bringing in a reasonable level of income for a 2015, 2016, period in terms of time. That amount wasn't bad. I'm sure it kind of covered your need on a month-on-month
It
basis, wife
wasn't bad.
taking care.
There were a lot of bankers that were not at that.
Now we're not earning that much, right? Because I can think back and see where I was and all of that. But you get what I mean. So I could kind of visualize how much it must have costed you to say that, okay, I'll leave all of these and then I'll go down that path. And it's a lot of sacrifice, but like you rightly articulated, I think what we get out of a job is not just about the it's not just about the earning. If all as a matter of fact, my thinking is if all we get from a job is money, then we are at a loss, right? I think we should get people. We should meet people and network. I think we should get a lot of experiences, and I think we should get the exposure that you also mentioned. And for me, all of these things put together are the input into the greater things that will even happen in the future. And that seems to be your story. So thanks a lot for sharing that. It's really really inspirational. I'm sure that somebody will take a learning or two from what you have shared. Now, I know that when you left uh, the formal consulting outfit you are working with, um, that you were not green, you were not, you earned a degree of experiences and all of that. But I'm also sure that navigating that and starting out, right, must have come with some kind of challenges, right? Now that you are like starting out afresh again, right? Yes, experiences, yes, a degree of network, but you're starting out afresh again. So, how did you manage that? How did you navigate that season, right? To leave this, right? To go and start that without friction, possibly, right? How did you navigate that? And from there, how did you start building some kind of, traction, so to say?
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for that question. So, when it comes to navigating seasons, and transitioning, there's something I learned, and it was, I remember at that time, I had a conversation with another mentor of mine at the time, uh, Jimmy Tewe, right? And he spoke to me about the concept of the low hanging fruits, right? And he mentioned that, as somebody that is trying to build something, there are certain skills and competencies that you have that you can easily give to quickly earn money that will help you keep people together. Right. So it tasked me at the time to identify certain low hanging fruits, things that I can easily do, right? That I can make quick money from. They may not be the things I want to do, but they are things I can do,
I
right?
keep body and soul together.
I would keep body and soul together whilst you are working
On the journey.
on your journey.
Mm,
But
mm,
it would interest you to know that at that time, what came to me as a low-hanging fruit, and this is also very important conversation here.
mm,
What came to me as a low-hanging fruit was my training facilitation skills.
mm,
Right. So I sold my training facilitation skills like my life was dependent on it.
mm.
Right. I became a facilitator for IBFC, for Angusto, for
Where
FOS.
was IBFC? These are consulting outfits,
These
right?
are
Or
consulting outfits.
yeah.
Right. I became faculty members for them. And
Mm,
now at that time, if this is 2018, between 2018 and 2019 now, right?
mm,
When I facilitate daily training, if they pay me well, they will pay like 100K per day. If they didn't
mm,
pay well, they'll pay 70K per day, right?
mm,
So my target was that let me be very busy, right?
mm.
Guess what? I now became so busy that in a month, I can have 10 days. So if
Wow.
I have 10 days in a month, that's 700K. If I have 10 days in a month at 70K, that's 700. If I have that 100K,
Yeah.
that's 1 billion,
Mm,
right? And I kept pushing. Now, again, when it comes to the journey of enterprise development,
mm.
sacrifice cannot be overemphasized
Yeah.
because the more I made this money, the more I got pulled again into it. And
Mm,
the more I did not pay attention to what I wanted to do with high performance consulting. Now,
mm,
until I had a wake up call one day. So there was a particular client, right? I had gone to this organization to facilitate for IBFC. I have gone to facilitate for LYD Consulting. I've gone to that same client to facilitate for FOSAD. So I've
mm,
represented about 5 different consulting outfits in
mm.
this client's office. And then one day, one of the HR guys, they say, Bolu, which one are you, Gaga?
You are just you keep showing up.
You keep showing up. Right? And on that day, it hit me that because I was trying to make as much money as I wanted, I was already losing identity.
Mm, mm,
Right? I was already
mm.
losing identity because now I'm for everybody, but for nobody. Right?
I'm for everybody.
But for
I'm for
nobody.
nobody.
You know, and that
Mm,
day I went back home thinking that if I've represented 5 different organizations to this company, then that means that the level of exposure I have with them should be strong enough to say, let me put my own card in the game as well.
mm, mm, mm.
So that day, I made a strategic decision that, you know what, I'm cutting down from all the organizations I was
Facilitation.
facilitating for. I want to
Mm,
zoom in on high performance consulting. I am going
mm,
to, so I sat down, I went on a retreat for about 2 weeks. Whilst I was at
mm,
that retreat, I crafted the vision, the mission of high performance consulting. I
mm,
developed our product lineup from a
mm,
perspective. I developed our first, corporate brochure that was going to put,
mm,
and I was audacious enough to go to that same company that, see, guys, I've been coming here representing every other person. Now I want to represent myself. What does it
mm,
take to be
mm,
the person collecting jobs directly from you?
mm,
Now, of course, it took me about 7 months because now I had to go through their proper onboarding process, right?
mm,
I had to go to their procurement, go through this. They needed me to
mm,
produce this, they needed me to produce that. I needed to have director, I needed to have tax
mm,
clearance, I needed to have audited statement of accounts, even the company was up to a year. I had a lot of documentation. It was rigorous, but if they ask for this, I said, don't worry, give me 2 weeks, I'll present it. Don't worry, give me that, present it. Don't worry, give me that, I'll present it. Notice that as at that time, they also required that I should bring a plethora of faculties that I had at the time I did. So I then reaching out to people, Alpha, I need you to, be on my faculty. I need you to be on. So some people that I met whilst I was doing associates, that they were also doing associates, they did not mind building a brand. They are satisfied upping from work. And I said, come and up with me too, And I did all of that. And then I can remember the day I was going to pitch to the academy, right? I was tensed, I was everything, but I was like, you know what? It is what it is. Let's go and do this thing. We blew them away and we got the job. That was a client I onboarded. Now, my ability to onboard that client gave me the confidence to onboard others. And I just started moving one after the other. I started studying a lot about sales, a lot about how to close deals and all of those things. I will sit down, list out all the companies I want to submit my proposals to. KO, in this life, between 2019 and today, I must have sent out nothing less than 800 proposals. Nothing less than 800 proposals.
Wow. So this is not luck. This is hard work, right? This is being audacious. This is trying things. This is not being afraid to get a no.
This is not afraid to get a no. In fact, if I will work. Either you are asking me for proposal, you are not asking me for. I am. In fact, there was a time I was sending proposals through emails. I thought maybe emails were not working. I said, okay, let me go and print and use DHL to send to people's office. Maybe that was going to get them to say, at least see it. It did not work. I was doing proposals, I was sending out, but gradually, they started coming. They started coming. They started coming. Then I recognized, I went for a training sometime on how to sell in consulting. And what I took away from that is that for the most part, consulting doesn't sell by sending random proposals. It sells by looking for the contact first, then using one contact as your entry point. So the moment I did this, I changed my strategy. Then I started, so I said, see, at this point, don't worry, I will not send proposals again. Let me pursue contacts, And then I learned also that, when you are selling and you are the one doing most of the talking, then your selling is wrong. When you are trying to sell, the person you are trying to sell to should be the one doing the most of the talking. You should be the one asking the most of the
questions.
Right. Because it is asking those questions I can say, okay, maybe these people is even asking me the right questions. Maybe they have the right solution. So, for example, if somebody says to me today, say, oh, Bolu, we need a proposal for XYZ trading. I'm not going to jump and start working on proposal. No, God forbid. I would say to you that before working on this proposal, I need to understand, what
you're trying to solve for
is. In fact, I set up a meeting just to come and understand your problem. I've had a scenario. I was talking to somebody and I was asking a lot of questions. That was like, Bolu, you're asking me too many questions. I said, well, I don't want to join the line of all the other consultants you have used that they never produces for you. If you are not going to answer all of my questions, then let's not bother, because it is a problem I understand. I can
help you solve.
So those are the things that I use. Those are the mindset that I have, that has helped me in growing into this point, right?
Yeah.
But to in a nutshell, number one is audacity, right? Audacity, right? Number two is clear vision on exactly what I want to create. In fact,
Mm,
even right now, I'm not even scratched the surface yet. It's still, well, I'm not even scratched the surface, right? Number
mm,
three is continuous learning and development, right? Even though I am in the train and development space,
mm,
I the volume of what I consume, right, is enormous. And I'm not
mm,
consuming because I want, it's possible for me to be learning so I can teach better. Mm-mm. I am
mm,
learning so that I can do my business better. As a
mm,
result of doing my business better, then I get more opportunities. In
mm.
fact, it will interest you that throughout last year, if we had 100 trainees, I'm not sure if I set up to 20 of them.
So your associates did most of that, right?
Absolutely. And why? Which is one of the reasons why we've also been able to grow this fast, is because I recognize that if I spend all of my time facilitating the training, yes, I am saving the money we would have paid to the associates. I'm retaining the money in the company, but
Mm,
I am be able to do the strategic work that will help us grow.
mm, mm. And I think
So
that's smart, right? It's
yeah,
I mean, thinking about it now, Bulutex, thanks for all that you've shared. These are very not just inspirational; they are quite instructive, to be honest, right? And thinking about it now, it looks like similar to the call that you made in 2016 to, you know, go low to go high, right? It looks like it looks like you're consciously making decisions for the future, right? You're always like trying to deliver the future, and you look at today, what can we do differently so that we can deliver a better future? So even if it means that there is a pain point, right? Or it's
today
going to cut out a little bit, yes, but you're willing to do that. You get what I mean? So, for instance, this conversation this story you just shared about, you having not facilitating up to 20% or up to 25% of the training gigs that your outfit got, and you had to kind of use freelancers or use associates so that you can focus more on the strategic things. It's not that the strategic things are necessarily giving you more money in the now,
in the now,
right?
yeah, but
But
they
they
will definitely
will
more in the future.
in the future. In the
Yeah.
future. So I mean that is quite instructive. Now something I want to double click on that you mentioned in passing. And I don't know, we'll probably get to a point where we talk a little bit about the ethos of your organization in terms of the values that drive. But for me, I'm quite impressed about the fact that you're not just trying to tick the box with the client. You're like, guys, I need to understand what you're trying to solve for before I can provide solutions. As the guys in medical science will tell us that, you know, uh, um, uh, what do you guys do with when they tell you the drugs to use, right?
Prescription.
Prescription, right? That's what I'm looking for. As the guys in medical science will say, prescription before diagnosis is malpractice, right? And there are a lot of people, and Nigeria has a lot of, especially pharmacists in Nigeria, do a lot of those things. And you get to the store, and they don't fully understand what the problem is. They just give you everything, right? And what happens at the end of the day? The problem is not solved. Credibility is lost, right? So it looks like you are very result oriented. You don't just want to take the boss and get the money. You really want to deliver value, right? Is that
Absolutely.
correct? And if that is correct, yeah, how does that, impact someone? Have you ever had to walk away from a deal because, you guys that they want a shortcut or something and you're like, this is not going to happen. If we want to do it, we should do it right.
In Kyo, this is see, these things that we're talking about are part of the fundamentals of my organization, and everybody that works with me knows it, right? I've refunded. There was one executive that wanted me to work with him. I think about 3 or 4 years ago, right? I had paid, you know, he had paid already. I was going to work with him for a month. He had made a deposit of 1 million, right? And I was like, okay, before we start the session, let me let me do a clarity call with this person. By the time we jump clarity call, I recognized that there is no way I'm going to produce results with this person, you know. And after the clarity call, I sent the man an email. I said, thank you very much for considering working with me. But through the lens of a clarity call, I have discovered that I'm not the right coach for you. I have absolutely. I have instructed the office to refund your money to you. The man did not believe it. It was like, who walks away from a payment? Yeah. And they refunded the money, and that was all. Right. 2 years ago, there is a particular client we're trying to work with. It's in the logistics space here in Nigeria. Right. And so their own logistics is kind of different. Is CIT transit. So they have of armored vehicles moving need for banks and things, right? And so we started working with them, and they had a lot of problems, organization top bottom problem, right? And I looked at the organization and I said to the CEO that for us to be able to really create the kind of results that we want, I am going to fire all of your management staff and I'm going to recruit new ones. I am going to train the new ones off-site for 3 months. I'm going to work on them for 3 months, right? When they are ready, I would come, relieve these people, and these people will resume immediately, right? We had a lot of back and forth around it. We signed up on the project. We recruited the replacement. We worked on these people for the 3 months. And then on the evening of a Friday, we went to the organization, laid off the entire management staff, about 8 of them, right? By Monday, new set of people resumed. Kill. In 8 months, we tripled the revenue of the organization. In 8 months. Now, but we then had a problem. Apparently, for one reason or the other, the CEO, who is also the MD CEO of the company now, because of the problem he had with the organization before, mistrust and all of those things, he had a way of micromanaging. Because what I said was that so I was going to recruit these people, then I will manage them for 6 months after recruiting them. Because what I drew out was a full year plan, right? Because I wanted to turn the organization around completely, right? So I managed this people for about 6 months. We have tripled revenue. Some conversations that they cannot have with the client, to change rates and all of that. We had the conversation. Rates were changed. A lot of things. I brought in a new head of workshop. Their downtime reduced significantly. And their labels just went up. Then the man began to suspect that, with all of these ones, are we not giving people too much power? Are we not giving this? Are we not giving that? And his own fear started showing. And we were in the management meeting one day, and he said something. He said, I don't like the relationship that is between high performance consulting and this set of people. There is a possibility for them to do transaction. As at that time, this organization was still owing me close to 5 million. I stood up from that meeting. I said, I cannot sit in a meeting where, you'd be discrediting the quality of the work that we have done. Right? If you don't trust that we can deliver the organization, then let me know now and let me wait. KO, I walked away. Up to today, that organization did not pay us that balance, and I did not go back.
Wow.
Should
Wow.
I tell you the truth? 3 months after I walked away, all the people I brought into the organization left.
Because he couldn't give them the space to operate. He couldn't.
All the people I brought in 3 months after I left, all of them left that organization. Today, the organization has gone back to where it used to be. In fact, somebody was telling me that maybe like in November, FIRS came to shut down the operation for about 3 days because they cannot pay up taxes.
I mean, a thought is crystallizing in my mind as you're saying that, and let me pack that thought. Let me pack that thought. No, because I mean, thanks a lot for saying that. Now, bringing all of this together, well, in terms of the ethos and the values that guides high performance, consulting, what would you say are those 1, 2, 3, 4 things that when people
Just
join your
just
organization? Okay.
four. Yeah. So in high performance consulting, we say that we care, right?
Mm,
So we care about our clients, we care about ourselves, we care about the quality of the work that we do, we care about
mm,
everything. And care, in itself, is an acronym for something. So on the
mm.
one part, we interpret care as the word care, right?
Yeah.
But on the second part, the word care then stands for something to us. So when we say we care, C
Mm,
stands for consistency. So that means that we are consistent.
mm,
We're consistent. We don't drop ball because of the amount of money you are paying or the amount of money you are not paying. If we say
mm.
we are going to deliver a price, even if we later discover that that price cannot deliver the job, it's either
You will
we
not.
renegotiate or, but we are
Mm,
bound by what we say we are
the
going to deliver.
commitments you have made. Mm,
Right. When you see the quality of what we are doing for the high ticket client versus the quality of what we are doing for the low ticket client, there is no difference because for
mm,
us, consistency is key.
mm.
Number two is E, right? Sorry,
Good.
number two is A.
Yeah.
That is audacity for us
Mm,
in Ep of Mass Consulting. Our level of audacity is next to nothing, right?
mm.
There is no door we cannot knock. In fact, the amount of failures that we've had in this life is
Mm,
sufficient to say, let us shut down our door and be going on.
mm.
You know, but no, we are audacious. We
When you say
experiment.
failure, do you mean no, or failure in terms of even on
Failure
projects
in terms of projects that ideas that we want to work with
worked
that did
on?
not work. And
Mm,
as it's not working, we are saying, okay, what else can we do? Because the truth of the
mm,
matter is that if you are not doing enough of projects, right, you don't have enough pedigree to use to negotiate, right? So
mm,
it's one thing that you are getting clients' projects. It's another thing that you yourself, you are creating things that are making you relevant. So, for
mm,
example, we have what we call the Business Growth Lab, right? That we launched sometime last year. We have,
mm.
so we have a lot of projects like that we have created, to be able to keep edging our name in the
Yeah.
consulting space, right?
Space.
Yeah. Some have failed, as in failed
Mm,
woefully, that we lost the
mm,
money we tried to use. But it's
mm.
okay because we are learning.
Yeah.
The more we try, the more we see how it can work and how it cannot work. So
Mm,
A stands for audacity, right? R stands for result oriented. So
mm,
for us, we are result biased, not activity biased.
mm, mm.
So when we are thinking about things, the question is, will it deliver results? If it will deliver results, go for it.
That's good.
If it will not deliver results, no matter how sweet and
There's no
enjoyable it
point.
is, abandon it. Right? So
Mm,
we are result biased, not activity biased. And
mm,
then is that we go the extra mile. So
mm.
when we say we go the extra mile, what does it mean? When we promise you that we're going to deliver 20 for you, we want to be able to beat our chest to say that we
Can
deliver 30.
deliver 30. Mm,
So this is the ethos that
mm,
governs what we do, right? In my organization, mistake is forgivable easily,
mm,
right? As long as you are in alignment with this four, right?
mm. Wow. Wow. That's inspiring. That's inspiring. I mean, thanks a lot for sharing that. And it looks, I mean, just thinking of practices and habits and all of that. You mentioned a while back that, you know, at the very beginning of this, right? No, not at the very beginning, after doing the freelancing thing for a while, right? That, you took like a 2 week break and then you went for a retreat and, and it looks like what we see today in your outfit is a product of that exercise, right? Is that something you still do from time to time, right? And do you also help organizations, lead such strategic kind of retreat to help them become better, become high performers, so to say?
Mm. So for me as a person, I'm a believer in retreats because I believe that you can only build from a place from a place of rest, right? There is a lot of wisdom that comes from a place of silence, right? That is why you get your best of ideas when you are in the shower in the morning taking your bath, because there's something that happens to your mind when there's a lot of quietness and peace around. So I do take personal retreat once every year, right? To go and, again, this is not organizational retreat, this is personal. To go and think about it, to go and rethink. Then based on what I'm bringing back, we can now do organizational retreat. But one of the things I'm even thinking that should be able to do this year, to be able to do moving forward, I do 2 retreats in a year, right? Because the quality of the thinking that we bring to the table determines the speed at which we can really grow. Right. So one of the things I've noticed is that a lot of business owners, CEOs, and all of that, they are so belabored with operational work that they cannot do strategic work. And the moment work is not done, organizations cannot grow. What grows an organization is strategy. What consolidates an organization is operations. So we can keep going around operation, 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 but we are just still on the same level, or we are not even being, if we moved at all, it was just a needle kind of movement, right? So I'm always looking for how to disconnect to go on those retreats. And yes, part of our offering is facilitating, strategy retreats for a lot of our clients, right? And we've had the opportunity of helping um, quite a number of organizations shaping the way they are thinking about themselves. One of the things I'm always pointing people at in my own strategy session is what's our why, right? The moment we're able to ascertain that, we can then to build from there, right? Because we don't know where we're going. How can we find a pathway there? So it's always a question of where are you going? Where are you today? Then we can bridge the gap. And being those are the two major conversations. So it's in between that we now say, okay, let us come with the key results area for each of the departments, based on what we've been able to say our vision is. So from the vision to the strategic focus for the year, right? And from the strategic focus for the year to the key results areas of each of the departments, from the key results of the departments to the daily activities of the individual. Then
Mm.
how do you measure that? So in those retreats, we then create reporting templates. We create a lot of things that then help support
Resources, yeah.
towards the
Mm,
achievement of that. So yes,
mm,
yeah, why I'm able to also do that for others is because it's something I do,
mm.
regularly myself.
Cool. I mean, it's interesting to hear all of this that you're sharing. I want to go back a little bit to. I want to go back a little bit to. I hope you have a little bit of time. If that's okay. Say in another 2025 we should wrap up. Is that all right?
That's fine.
All right. Thanks a lot, Bolu.
Yeah.
Now, I want to go back to the conversation we had a bit on the 800. The proposal that you said if you don't count at all, you've released about you know like 800 proposals, right? I know that if we go through the register of organizations in Nigeria is in thousands, right? If not millions, right? Across industries, across spaces, and the question I'm trying to get to is how do you profile and how do you kind of streamline your target audience or your target client, right? How did you kind of define them? Because now it may not look like you have 800 people you're working with today, but even reaching out to 800 is a lot. But that, in the grand scheme of the number of possible organizations you can be working with, right, is still not like you are going everywhere trying to reach everybody. Do you get what I mean? So how did you kind of say, okay, a lot of organizations we can do consulting for, uh but we want to focus on this because perhaps maybe for these guys this is it, and then you kind of laser focus on that. I hope that is clear.
Okay, yeah, it is clear actually. At the earliest stage, maybe between the first 1 or 2 years, right? I wasn't smart about it, right? So I was just like, I was like somebody that was, just beating the waters and just
Yeah.
trying to ensure that you don't sink. But,
Mm.
along the line, I learned something very profound that on the one part, it is one thing that you've been able to clearly define your target audience, right,
Mm.
relative to the kind of people you want to serve.
Mm.
But when it comes to selling, what would make your sales effort to be more laser-like is
Mm.
master qualifying your leads,
Mm.
right? Now,
Mm.
initially my strategy was, those is they say, send cold call, send cold emails,
Mm.
get emails and all of those things, develop proposals that you think they need, and then
Mm.
start. So now I sent out a lot of proposals then, but I didn't get a lot of. It's not even a lot of yeses now. I did not even get a
Conversion.
lot of conversation
Mm.
first. You know,
Mm.
Mm. Maybe it is when you have conversation that can
It
close.
didn't even turn the lock at all. Nothing. It was like
Did you
it was
get
like water on the back of a bird. Everything just kind of.
exactly? You did not even. So I recognize that if I keep going that way, we're not going to have so much.
We're not
So,
going anywhere. Yeah.
exactly. So I changed my strategy, right? Which
Mm.
is to understand first is that having a contact doesn't make it
Mm.
a lead yet,
Yes.
right? So I needed to be more up close.
Mm.
Then I also understood that when it comes to sales, if you are able to qualify a client or a prospect before
Mm.
you even start talking to them, you increase your chances of making a sale. So when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to qualifying, I then learned that there are three major questions. The
Mm.
first question is the question of do they have buying power?
Can they pay me?
Can they pay
Right?
me?
Essentially.
Because I recognize that everybody is interested in a good product.
Yeah.
Everybody, KO, do you want the latest 2025?
Before you say it, I want it.
Everybody is interested.
Yeah.
The question then is, can they pay?
Mm.
So, the first question I'm asking myself, this person that I'm profiling right now, relative to what because the truth of the matter is that, I'm sorry to say, there are some people that cannot pay me right now, but it's okay. Based on how much I have valued my different services, there are certain people that cannot pay us. So the moment they introduce me to those kind of people, I'm asking myself, okay, can they pay? So you need to find a way to
So that's the
find out
first filter you apply. Okay.
that first filter. For a lot of business people, the first filter they are looking at is interest. Are they interested? Yes, everybody is interested. But the first question is, can they pay?
Affordability.
So for me, I'm looking at organizations that have good HR budget. That's number one. Number two is, this person that I'm talking to, is he a decision maker? If the person is not a decision maker, then there's no need wasting my time. I will just keep asking you, introduce me to decision maker. The fact that you work in HR doesn't mean that you're a decision maker in HR.
Got it.
In fact, the fact that you are the head of learning and development doesn't necessarily mean that you're a decision maker. The fact the head of HR may not even mean that you're the decision maker. So the second question I'm asking myself is, this organization, they have they are okay, they should have the money to pay for this kind of solution. The second thing is that the person I'm talking to right now,
are you able to assess the decision maker?
Then the third one is, do they need it now? Is it so? If it's not that, I'm looking for how to create urgency for them. So the more I use these three things to filter, the more my marketing effort became
produces
laser focused, and it produced more results.
So
I'd rather sit down in the office and not go out on a sales meeting if I am sure of these three things.
I mean, this is very helpful, and thanks a lot. So is it safe, Bolly, to say that within any sector of the economy where you find this quality in any organization, be it oil and gas or banking or logistics, provided the organization has these three, tick these three boxes, you're fine to work with them?
Absolutely. In fact, one of our goals is to be able to expand our industry reach, right? Because the truth is that the problems that organizations have, they are similar across industry. Because if it's a people problem, it's a people problem. If it's a strategy problem, it's a strategy problem.
It is. If
a process and system problem, it's a process and system problem, right? It doesn't change. The only difference is industry. So industry peculiarities can bring in here and there. But the truth of the matter is that the more we move, so for example, I started out within the financial and banking space, then into real estate, right? Then into, power, right? The new area that we're looking at entering right now is the oil and gas. So, that is how, if I've done it very well in this industry, then we can as well do it in that industry. Right? Because at the end of the day, it's just application of knowledge across board,
I totally agree with you.
If you look at the APMGs, you look at the Deloitte, you look at,
across
PwC, all of these people, their coverage is an industry. The only thing that cannot happen is that maybe, which is one of the structure that I'm hoping that will be able to bring into our performance at some, is where you are then selecting partners based on industry. So maybe the partner that, is focused on, the financial space. There's a partner that is focused on the real estate space. There's a partner that is focused on, the oil and gas.
And like that. And then they're all able to,
and then they are all able to trickle it down. Because one of the things that I recognize is that, for you to be able to get a lot done as an organization, right? The more hands you bring in, the better for you. The more hands you bring in, the better for you, right? So organizations that have like 1,000 people working for them today, right? They are able to do the work of maybe 2 years in one day because they aggregated the course in 2 years.
They have the resources. I agree. I agree.
You get
I
so
agree.
for
Yeah.
me, there have been times that I wasn't even paying myself
Mm,
because I'm bringing certain kinds of people to work with me.
mm,
Mm.
mm.
So So for me, and I think because for me, high performance consulting is not a sprint, is a marathon. You know, I'm
Yeah.
always in the long term. So, and I understand essentially the principle of delayed gratification. I don't
Yeah.
mind, you know, not getting paid from the
Like,
business
yeah. Mm,
as long as we are growing. As
mm.
long as I'm able to keep it growing, then I'm fine.
Yeah.
Because my joy is not in how much money I, as a person, is making from the business, is
Mm.
from what is the level of growth that we're experiencing, how
And the
much of
impact you're
income,
making. Mm.
you know, the vision that I have in my head. To what extent have we been able to create it?
Bring it to
You,
life.
those are my own joy points. Those are my point of
Mm,
satisfaction and fulfillment. So
mm,
we interest that there are times that I'm also looking for external way of making money for myself because
mm.
I can't afford to pull the kind of money I need from the business.
From the business.
Yeah.
The kind of money, serious money that you need. Okay, so Bolu, okay, so quick question. I saw a post you did on LinkedIn the other day.
Hmm.
Was it on LinkedIn or Instagram? It must have been LinkedIn. So you went to do this facilitation, I think in Lagos Business School, right? And you were sharing a thought around, being ready, right, for opportunities and all of that. I'm not sure I can clearly recollect articulate what you said the way you said it, but I guess it's about, you just being ready when the opportunity shows up and all of that. I don't know if you can, for other people who may be thinking of doing the kind of things that you do, right, and who are waiting for that perfect time and all of that. I don't know if you can share a thought or two just to, around that, right? You can share that experience and then share around that. That'll be very helpful.
Okay. Yes, so I had the opportunity of facilitating a training at Lagos Business School, and it would interest you to know that the title of the session was how to grow your business in a VUCA environment, right? Which is much what we have right now, looking at the economic space of the world. Um, that opportunity did not just come, right? I said it earlier that I'm a big believer in service, right? Um, I'm going to tell you how that happened. Sometime in 2020, just about when COVID was wrapping up, uh, I was invited somewhere to come and facilitate a session. But of course, they were not going to pay me because, hey, we are not going to help people navigate this COVID era, all of those kind of things. Okay, it's okay. Now, like I said earlier, right, consistency. Either you are paid or paid, the quality of delivery is 1,000%. I facilitated this training like my life was dependent on it, right? It was a 2 hour session, but the feedback was amazing, and I just finished. I left. I'm not even sure I took a picture with any of the participants, and I left. Then December of no January of 2024, I went somewhere and a lady walked up to me and the lady was, "Oh, Mr. Focus." Like, "Hi." I was like, "Oh, you will not know me, but I know you." I was okay, how good. You know. I was like, "Oh, I was at the session you facilitated in 2020, she described the experience, and I knew the program she was talking about. Like, oh yeah, I remember. She was like, everything you shared at that program changed the trajectory of my life. And now I work at Lagos Business School, right? As so I was like, oh wow, that's amazing. Now the interesting is that in 2023, right, I saw an older friend of mine facilitate a session in Lagos Business School. And I thought to myself, it would not be a bad idea to to become a faculty at Lagos Business School. And I mentioned to a couple of people, they're like, you that you don't have MBA, you that you don't have something, you do they who will have you, who is gonna have with classes, you know. But one of the things I believe so much in is also this law of attraction, right? And how you can just bring things to yourself by believing in its possibility for you. So this lady then says to me that, oh, now I work in Lagos Business School, and I greeted her casually. As I was walking away, I remember, Bolu, but you said you wanted to facilitate at Lagos Business School. So I went back to her. I said, give me your number. So I picked up her number. And then later that night, I sent her a message, say, oh, by the way, one of my desires is to facilitate a session at Lagos Business School. She said, okay, let's see. Usually we are very, very selective about the kind of people we use. In fact, we have accredited faculties, and the different deans of different faculties, they're always very, very peculiar about not stepping out of the accredited, faculties and all of those things. I said, well, let's just put it out there, and that was all. Then fast forward to, I think this was November. Was it October or November now? She just reached me to, let's say she reached out to me yesterday. That, oh, there is a program and they are looking at the possibility of using an external faculty that is not accredited. Are you open to it? I was like, when is the program? She says tomorrow. You see, she reached out to me the day before. I was like, I'm open to it. I said, okay, the pay is not that much. Oh, I said, I'm not even interested in the pay. I just want this opportunity, right? And she was like, okay, somebody's going to reach out to you. I said, okay, no problem. About 1 hour later, another lady reached out to me. She said, oh, please, can you send your profile? I sent my profile, and an hour later, she reached out to me and said, actually, my dean is saying maybe you'll not be able to do it. But you know what? There is another thing that we want to do. So that program, right? The way they designed it, that they wanted business coaches to come in the morning, right? They've been on that program for a while. So that's like the grand finale of the program. So they wanted business coaches to come in the morning. The students would present their business ideas to the business coaches. The business coach would critique it, help them fine tune it, and all. So this lady reaches out to me to say, you will not be able to facilitate this session, no, but we can bring you in as a business coach to review the proposal. I said, that one is okay. Now let me manage that. I said, yes, no problem. Then around 10 p.m. in the night, she says, I just got a message from my dean now that you can facilitate the session as well. So that means I was going to be a reviewer of proposals, then also going to facilitate. This is 10 p.m. The session starts at 9 o'clock the following morning. So what was a saving grace was because whatever it is that they're asking me to come and teach, is not something I have not developed some form of content around before. So for every opportunity I'm believing for, I am already getting ready for it, such that even if the notice it will give me is 10 minutes, I will knock it off the park. You know, one of my mentors would say this way that, and that was where I learned this principle. It would say that the opportunity of a lifetime must be seized in the lifetime of the opportunity, right? You know, the opportunity of a lifetime must be seized in the lifetime of the opportunity. You know, I need to remember. Can you hear me now? Okay. If you also remember, when we were in Olabisi University, one of the things that we always talk about is that success is opportunity meeting preparedness. I don't know if you remember, you know, maybe it was even from your mouth. I heard it. I can't even remember now, right? Opportunity. Success is opportunity meeting preparedness. The truth of the matter is that if we were to audit our lives, we would see that the reason why we are where we are today is because we were not prepared when different opportunities came, and then we were unable to, and then they went away. So the more we get ready, the easier it becomes to maximize opportunities. So for me, I'm always in a state of preparation, such that even if the notice you are going to give me is 2 seconds, I'm ready to go.
Cool. That's deep. That's deep.
Yeah.
That's
So,
very deep. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for sharing them.
so the other part of that also then is understanding that the future is forged in the fire of today. You know, when I think about it, I believe strongly in my heart that the reason I was invited to come and speak at that event was so that this lady can be there, so that she can be in Lagos Business School, she can refer me, and I can have the opportunity. Right.
Absolutely.
So, because
Absolutely.
like Steve Jobs put it, you only connect the dots looking backwards.
Looking
So
backward, yeah.
I'm always asking myself, I don't know what I'm creating in my future today. So let me make today the best version of it, so that if a future is going to come calling on today, there will be great stuff in
You'll say that.
column.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. And thanks a lot for sharing that. And I remember that I think even our last guest on the podcast also said something very similar to this, right? The way I look at it is, today is the seed of, what will happen tomorrow. Today is when I'll plant that seed, and that every opportunity I have, every role that I get on the job, every, project I'm told to handle, right? Or I have to handle is a seed, and how I handle that will determine what happens into the future. And when I look at my career, I can tell you, all of those things. So when you look back, you look at maybe it could have been a coincidence, but you think about it, you feel like, come, there is no coincidence in all of those things. So, it's really, really, very, very good to hear that from you. I have, let me say, like 2 more questions, right? We will do them very quickly because I can see they're already giving us the warning, time warnings. Okay. Right. So just 2 quick questions. Number one is, and I like to ask these 2 questions, last, so to say. Number one is, if you have to do it afresh, right? If you have to start afresh, right? What will you do differently? One. And then the last question is, for young people, right? I think they're kind of connected in a sense, but for young people who are looking at you and feeling like, okay, I think you are that future that I want that I want to feature in, as we used to say. What advice will you have for that generation of people who are looking at, you, and maybe perhaps they've tasted a little bit of management consulting and they're saying that I want to do something along the line of consulting too and stuff like that, what advice would you have for them? So two in one question, right? What would you do differently if you have to start all over afresh, right? And then number two, will be that what advice will you have for generations after, people who are coming behind who want to do something similar to what you're doing? Hope that is
Okay.
clear.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. The truth of the matter is that if there's something if there's anything, if I were to look back to say, is there something I would do differently relative to today? I would say nothing. Why? Because everything I've gone through accumulated to creating who I am today. Right. However, uh, through the lens of hindsight as well, maybe one or two. Number one is that even though I got exposed to management consulting, I should not have allowed it derail me or distract me from what the academics was meant to be. So if I had finished at the right time, I would have used time in a better way. So that's the first thing. Because when I started, I was already late. So I was already trying to mark up my time. The second thing then is that if I had started earlier, then I would have worked a 9 to 5 for a longer time. The reason is because I see a lot of people within my environment today that have richer network, right? And it was because they worked in places. Oh, like you mentioned earlier, one of the benefits of working in really solid places is that you're able to meet solid people, right? I I suffered from lack of good network at the earliest life. What is helping me make up for it right now is the fact that I am serving and I'm contributing in some other that that gives me that visibility, right? And exposes me to certain network. So I'm making up for it, even though I lost it in
Yeah,
a season. Right. Right. So that is
got it.
that when it comes to if there's anything I'm going to do differently, right? Maybe look for where I can work better so I can have better network. Right. To the second question now,
So,
what will I advise a young person? I think one of the most important things that anybody needs to learn in this life is to build emotional resilience. Without it, you cannot navigate life. You see, a lot of people say today, oh, my mental health, oh, that organization is toxic, oh, that one. If we look at it, the reason why you are complaining about everything is because you lack emotional stability and stamina. A lot of people have been raised today that they don't have what it takes to withstand any serious tough. And the truth of the matter is that to succeed in this life
yeah.
is tough, is serious work. This is
Mm,
being a prophet of
yeah.
doom. It is
Yeah.
just what it is, right? It requires
Yeah. Yeah.
energy. You'll
I
be
agree.
disappointed. You'll be heartbroken, right? Ha. Clients will speak to you
Yeah.
anyhow. Even your staff self can speak to you self, right? But you need to be able to say, see, I've built enough emotional stamina that's possible for me to
To withstand
navigate
things.
whatever it is that I'm finding myself in. A lot of people today don't have the right emotional stamina for anything, right? They are doing terrible work and they are rubbing their head and say it's okay. It's not okay. That's why it is called work. Work is not meant to be easy. So for any young person there, look for how to build emotional stability. And when you build it, it helps you to be able to navigate, tough seasons of your life. Because
Yeah.
trust me, tough seasons will come.
Tough seasons will come. Tough season will come. Really, that's a really very wise way to wrap it all up. And thanks a lot. I mean, this is not to say that we appreciate that there are people going through real mental health issues and all of that. People are going through stuff, and we appreciate that. But a lot of things that some people call mental health issues today is just people not having this emotional, stamina or resilience that you spoke about. And thanks a lot for sharing that. I think that also speaks a lot to parents, right? On the need for parents to be a bit more intentional in building or in raising mentally tough children, especially in our TikTok, in the TikTok generation or TikTok world that we're getting into. So we need to be a bit more. I guess the problem is as generations become more comfortable and become a bit more prosperous, the tenacity that they had growing up is not getting passed to their kids and all of that, because everything before they ask is provided. And I think we need to find the right balance between ensuring that they have all that they need and also giving them the right level of exposures to be able to make them strong and stable, so that when they go out there, they are not expecting everything to just fall on their laps, right? As the good book says, if
Your
you fall in
strength
the
is
days of
little.
adversity, your strength is little, right? And
Yeah,
they need to be able to
let me even
build in
share
such that
something
when those
quickly,
days
right?
come,
I went for
that's
a
will come.
seminar,
Please do.
and somebody said something there. It says, "Tough time births tough people. Tough people,
Yeah.
it's easy times.
Mm.
Easy times
Mm-hmm.
create soft people. Soft people,
People
right, will now create
bring hard
hard
times.
times."
Hard times. Because they're not. Right? So it looks like the circle of life, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a circle, right? It doesn't have to be. At some point, I think it's in. I mean, look at some of, and you and I were in the university at about the same time. Some of the things that we had to go through to get to, where we had today. While we're trying to make life a bit easier for the next generation, we need to let them understand that there is some resilience, right? Some of those things that we had that worked for us, we need to be able to pass that without necessarily depriving them of some of the necessary things that they need. Do you get? I guess the point is, in giving them all of the great things, right, that we think they need, and then not giving them the opportunity to build that resilience and give them the right level of exposures that they need to the world, and that makes them very weak, and eventually they're not able to take the baton and pass it on and build something even bigger than what the previous generations built. So that's very apt. The description that you gave in, and that chain is very apt. So thanks a lot for sharing all that you have shared today. Once again, to our viewers, we've been speaking to Mr. Bolutife David, the founder and the CEO of High Performance Consulting, right? And he's been sharing all with us. Is a gem. So I will encourage you to please find some time to listen to this and again, right? And you take the learnings, right? Apply them to your life, and we hope and believe that you will get a lot of value from all of this. Bolu, once again, I can't thank you enough for coming on this show, right? We can't afford to pay you. Only God knows how much you charge per hour now. So all we can do is to keep saying thank you and thank you and thank you. At least if you don't have money, you should have good behavior. So thank you
All of
for
the
coming. It's
contributions
really
along that, I didn't get to say it as well, but Keo here has been a good sounding board, at different junctions of the journey. I remember I've had to sit with Keo maybe like 3 or 4 times, to really think about how do we navigate. I remember there was a decision I was going to make, when we started out. Keo, do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Right. And today I'm grateful that I did not do it at that time, because now I know better, that even if I'm going to use that strategy now, I'm able to use it in a better way, myself in trouble.
that way. I'm glad that we could help in our own little way. Hey, thanks a lot for taking the time to watch the podcast. We are super thankful for you taking that time and investing the time to learn. We hope that you find the story inspiring, and beyond that, that you've been able to articulate one or two things that you want to do differently in your whole entrepreneurial journey. May I encourage you to please like, subscribe, comment, and please share the word within your own circle of influence, especially within those that you think are on the same entrepreneurial journey with you. May I also encourage you to please, beyond subscribing to our YouTube channel, follow us on our other social media platforms. That means a lot to us, and we can see that that helps us to track that we're making some progress and so making some impact. Thanks a lot once again for taking the time to watch, and to see you on the next episode.